only got him for one more segment because he's got to get some sleep for Coast to Coast AM, midnight Central. That'd be 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern. CoastToCoastAM.com. I'm Alex Jones. And there's so many other subjects I could sit here and hog George with, like what does he think of all the crazy weather, the weather weapons, Al Gore saying the cold weather's caused by global warming, the carbon taxes, the government trying to shut down more power plants. But I don't want to hog him, but briefly, what's your view on the carbon taxes crippling our power plants? We can't build new ones, and we're having blackouts everywhere.
It's all a scam to make money, Alex. I mean, this whole thing. What Al Gore doesn't understand, and what so many globalists who support global warming, is that we are in an Earth cycle. This solar system and the planets in it are warming up. Unless I'm wrong, I don't think we have plants and factories and cars on Mars and Jupiter and Saturn. But those planets are warming up as well. The solar system goes through a cycle, and we're going through one right now. Now, is mankind contributing, speeding things up? That's a possibility. I'm not going to rule that out. But this was going to happen anyway. It'll go away, and it'll start again, whether we have people on this planet or not. But the scam to make more money, squeezing us. I mean, we should do a show on red light cameras and the ridiculousness of what they're doing to try to raise more revenue. You talk to any police officer in this country, they're opposed to that. They wish these cameras would fall off the pole.
Well, in San Diego, they were forced to remove them a few years ago because they weren't even following the law, and they were caught shortening the yellow part of the light so people couldn't stop, and it was causing accidents. Absolutely. Going to phone calls. Henry in California, you're on the air with George Norrie.
Hi. I was wondering about George's opinion about certain guests and the ability for them to just suddenly de-res out. And it's never with a guest that's talking about, a light thing like tarot cards or, something like the Easter Bunny. It's always about a hard-hitting black budget issue.
Henry, let me tell you something. Like Jordan Maxwell, who's been on the program, and just when he's ready to get into the meat of what he's on the show for, his phone goes dead or something bizarre like that happens. It happens a lot. And as you know, I don't believe in coincidences. I mean, there's got to be some kind of phone kill switch somewhere.
Well, we know, just like the internet kill switch.
Click. Yeah, so I mean, I think those things happen.
Well, anything else, Henry?
Does he have an opinion about certain in my opinion, ventriloquists that will call in and misrepresent themselves? I don't want to say their names, but I really think Alex has been victim to some of these gag pranks, especially when they did the TSA special, that can bypass screeners. But I really think they're professional.
Well, let me stop you because I haven't heard of this, but it wouldn't be ventriloquist. It would be a imitator, somebody calling in and posing as someone. I have that happen a lot. But more than that, they have these computer boards where they record my voice and other people's voices, and they have hundreds of statements, and then they call into shows and have me threaten people, or they call old ladies. And I've actually had the cops call me before, and I've had people call and say, quit calling my house, and they're doing this as a form of harassment. I appreciate your call.
Boy, that hasn't happened to me yet. That's bizarre.
Do you know what he's talking about, the TSA special you did and something happening?
No, I don't. But, we have done programs where we've had guests on, and they have mysteriously been clipped away, and then we try to call them back, and they never come back online again. It's strange stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that happen over the years. It's happened to Art Bell as well. Just a brief story. When I was at Bilderberg and covering it on your show in 2008 in Chantilly, and Obama was coming to be there, after it was over, we were at a steakhouse. It had just ended after the 2 days. I called my wife. She told me one of her parents was sick. Hung up the phone, and somebody called and said, we're basically from the government. We want you to know we just heard what your husband said to you. So they let her know they were listening, and then they basically, threatened her and did some other things. So, yes, that stuff goes on.
Well, and it has been going on, Alex, for a long, long time, but it's getting worse, don't you think?
It certainly is. It's crazy. Let's talk to Al in Texas. You're on with the biggest talk show host overnight in the world and about to take the crown from Rush Limbaugh as the biggest, period, George Norrie. Al, you're on the air.
Hi, guys. Much respect to you both. Quickly touching on the telephone phasing out, I used to see the same thing on Matrix News Network when I would watch that when I lived up north. But my main question for you, Mr. Nuri, I don't get a chance to listen to your show a lot. I'm usually asleep. I have to work very early in the morning. I do listen to Alex Jones, and I've heard his take on China. And I agree with a lot of what Mr. Jones has to say about China, but I would like to get your take on what exactly you think, or what you think about the Chinese takeover and how everything is going over there. You can't buy a box of matches at Kroger's without it being made in China.
Sure. So good question, Al, from Texas. Thanks for the call. George, your view on Hu Jintao bad-mouthing the dollar at the state dinner, having their pianist play an anti-America song, being the biggest owner of our debt. What's your view?
Well, first of all, real quickly, you can always get Streamlink for 25 cents a day and podcast it. The show will be waiting for you in the morning right there for you, so you don't have to worry about sleep. China has put together one of the most brilliant economic tactics I've ever seen. Here was a nation 30, 35, 40 years ago that could barely do anything. Now they're pumping out everything in a massively growing economy. They are brilliant at what they do. Unfortunately, 75 people run that communist country, and they've got their eyes on Taiwan and everything else, and they're not going to stop. They have incredible patience, and they will continue to do what they do. They already own most of America. They own our debt. We are slaves to them, and it's just a matter of time when they decide to call in their chips.
I agree with that statement, and there's the other facet of the globalists making deals with China and then using regulations to shut down China's competition here in the U.S. That's what Kissinger and others are all about, and it's so dangerous. Bell in South Carolina, you're on with George Norrie.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. I just wanted to say, Mr. Norrie, that I'm very happy with the way the show is going now. I'm really excited about what you're doing, and you're such a beautiful soul. About the weather modification, I have a link for everybody. This particular document pretty much answered the question for me of whether or not the weather's being controlled, and the logical conclusion that I come to is that yes, it is always, and that every event is being manufactured. It's kind of a long link, but it's on the cftc.gov site.
Oh, the CFR has a report about weather manipulation. Send us that link. Send that link to George. I appreciate your call, Bell. George, more and more they just admit that they're doing geoengineering.
Oh, of course they are. We know what's been happening in Dubai and every place else that's happening. Let me give out my email address, Alex, to any of your listeners who want to send me material. George at Coast2, you got to put that TO in there, coasttocoastam.com.
Let's jam in a few more here because we only got about 3 minutes left with George. Noel in Illinois, you're on the air with George Norrie.
God bless you both. George, I heard your interview with Ty Bollinger the other night. Alex, you should interview him. This guy is unbelievable. He is fighting the resistance. He is V for victory. 2 questions quickly. George, your thoughts on Big Sister Homeland Security being brazenly out in the open with everything. She will make her debut on the Super Bowl with a commercial. If you see something, say something.
That's right. They're using taxpayer money to force their messages on us.
The only victory we've got is they're doing away with that lousy color scheme, which I hated from the get-go.
What's your view on the telescreens going in stores all over the country saying, watch your neighbor?
You remember years ago we would watch films and movies where you'd see Big Brother on a huge screen talking to us constantly while people walked and shopped. That's where we're headed. That's going to happen. I think it's horrible, but it's going to happen, Alex. You're going to have these screens all over the planet where you'll have this Big Brother, maybe even a computer-animated guy looking at you, right? Just saying, do this, do this, do this.
Unbelievable.
And,
they are...
Yeah.
They're doing it. It's happening. Last caller for George Norrie. You can hear more of him tonight, midnight Central, coasttocoastam.com. Ryan in Texas, you're on the air.
This is the first time I've actually got through. I appreciate you taking my call. I had a question for Mr. Norrie about the glass tubes of Mars, actually.
Well, it's an incredible story. If you believe that Mars was once inhabited, then you have to believe that it was intelligent life and that they built structures on Mars, on the moon, and God knows where else. I happen to believe that there are extraterrestrials out there in the universe, that we've been visited before, and we might even have been seeded. So it's entirely possible that there are structures on these other planets and moons throughout our solar system.
Well, I know this. There's ice caps on Mars, and they claim they found evidence that there was life there. And I don't think we're the only creatures in this universe of hundreds of billions of admitted galaxies. The problem is there's just so much conflicting information out there, but folks can decipher through all of it and try to make up their own mind, certainly at coasttocoastam.com. George, we're about to end this segment. I want to say bye to you briefly during the break, but I just want to thank you for, again, exposing my information to 16 million people. That's 16 million every night, a lot more than that over the years. And just appreciate the work you're doing for the First Amendment.
Well, Alex, I'll continue to do it, and you continue to do what you do, and maybe one day we'll win this battle.
Well, I mean, we should have talked about that. Do you agree the tide's turning, the awakening is accelerating?
The awakening is accelerating. I'm not sure we're winning yet, but at least it's accelerating.
At least we're in the fight. Well, that's George Norrie of coasttocoastam.com, second biggest syndicated program in the country and going out worldwide via Premier Radio Networks. And we appreciate George and everybody else's help getting us on XM. We start weekdays live instead of being re-aired at night.